Okay, well, to introduce you, if you haven't watched, which so far nothing, I haven't posted the last one. Okay, yeah, if you haven't watched, this is my mom Myrna. I'm Liam, and we've decided we want to just meet up every week and discuss all things ADHD and business and life and the meaning of everything,
Yeah.
and see where it takes us.
Okay, so where should we okay, I wrote an article this week and I haven't I'm still editing it, so it hasn't been posted yet. But what I've been thinking a lot about, just so I'll dive right in, is I've been thinking about indecision. And my overarching conclusion is that there is no such thing as indecision. There's only fear. Indecision is a cloak. It's a blanket that hides fear. We can say, well, I just can't decide. And that sounds like a nice sort of rational thing. Whereas I think it's really about fear of making the wrong decision, fear of too many choices, which may be an ADHD thing, fear of saying something that might hurt somebody, just all kinds of fears, but we get to call it indecision. So it sounds a little bit more important. Whereas when we look at it through the lens of fear, we can perhaps address it a little bit more easily. Is that making sense?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Like, I got a specific thing that ties to that.
Okay, let's hear it.
Or like when you first saw my very first tattoo, the word maybe.
Yeah, you maybe. Oh my God, you must have a more decisive life than that.
Yeah, and I think there's sort of like a humor behind it.
I saw no humor.
But the way I saw it was like in the day when of pondering that like led to that. We
A
don't
whole
need
day of pondering.
we don't need to get the details of it, but the idea was it occurred to me that yeah, we can never have enough information to decide. Is like making a decision can be hard, and a lot of the time you want more information.
That's only like that's that one behavioral style. That's the compliance behavioral style in this behavioral psychology model. People that are opposite of that don't need too much information. If they do, they're just making up an excuse.
Okay, well, like, but that's maybe what I was doing.
Okay.
Right, or what I do a lot in my life, what a lot of us do, like what you said, comes from fear. And like I realized there were times when I thought about doing things and I wasn't sure if I should do them, and I would hum and I would ha, whatever. And so this stupid tattoo was the idea that we need to commit to taking action, risky action in the face of uncertainty.
Okay, work with me on that. I'm still lost with a tattoo that says maybe, and we're going to commit. Those seem like a little bit of a juxtaposition to me.
Is because a tattoo is a commitment. It's for life. It's like you do.
So for life, you're going to think of maybe. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, and maybe in hindsight, maybe I should have done yes. you know?
But I have a sign in my living room that I made up specifically in a nice frame. And that's exactly what it says. I picked a nice font and I made a little picture for myself that says yes, because I'm saying yes to the world. I'm saying yes to opportunity. I'm saying yes to difficult things.
Yeah, well, I like to play with words a lot too. And so I also broke it down into its component parts in my mind as well. So it's like may be. It's like let it exist. Is sort of the way
okay. I'll go with let it exist.
It's not just maybe doesn't mean no. Maybe because you've already had this parent experience, you've conditioned yourself to think that maybe means no. It's like, can I have this toy? Maybe. That means no. Admit it. But a lot of the time, maybe is not a no. Maybe is an invitation to possibility. It's not a guarantee. It's like try it. Find out. That's what maybe is.
Okay. It's just that when people applied to work with me and they said, I want to try this job, that was like big black X. Like, no, you don't get to try. You Yoda, you do or you don't do. Because if you say maybe, or if you say try, you can say, well, I tried. Even to change the language a little bit to say, I'll do my very best, shifts it more in a light that I'm more inclined to support.
Yeah, I think.
Like I'll maybe pick you up at
Sure.
5 o'clock. Well, what the hell? You're picking me up at 5, or you're maybe picking me at 5:15, or maybe you're not picking me up at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some things that I'm still working through around that. Like when I was talking to my coach a week or two ago, that was something that came up was, I think it was the meaning of a promise, because I sort of internalized that a promise is a guarantee. And he helped me examine that a promise is not a guarantee, but a commitment. But if you're hung up on the idea that a promise is a guarantee, then it's hard to promise anything. So like that.
Let's go back to the promise being just a commitment, because I made a promise. I thought I made a promise or a commitment a year ago. And it's killing me because I don't want to do what I committed to do.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to unwind that clock and decommit. And again, back to that pretend indecision, that's really fear of decommitting.
Yeah, well, like, I think the idea is like, what can I say about this? Promise. I think that, like, that's where resistance came for these like bigger commitment words. Is like the idea like, oh, see, I'm maybe there at 5:30. And part of me, like the radically offensively honest part of me, is like, well, that seems appropriate, because what if I'm there at 5:31? Right? Because I don't want to lie. So I'll say maybe I'm there at 5:30. Because if I show up at 5:31 or 5:32, like no one's let down. I didn't break a promise because I didn't make a promise. But now I'm trying to reevaluate what a promise means to me, and realize that it is this commitment. And yeah, I don't know how you undo that, but I mean, yeah, the tattoo was at least a commitment. Like the word choice might have been dumb, but that's part of the meaning of it. Is like, is this the right thing to do? I don't know. You can never know if anything is the right thing to do until you do it. Mm-hmm. And that was supposed to serve as a reminder for that. Unfortunately, I hardly ever look at my legs. So I don't remember. I forget I even have legs. They live in pants and socks most of the time. So what promise are you trying to unwind from? Or like, how did you get yourself into a promise you need to unwind from?
Eyes roll back into the head. Well, I promised and I committed, and with some people that I wanted, and I thought at the time I really wanted to do a program that worked with people in my old space of being real estate management, real estate consulting. Because I really believe in good, solid leadership in real estate. The challenge is that over the course of the past year, surprise, I've been diverted into being quite intrigued with some of these plant-based products that I've been making. And I'm really passionate about the plant-based products. I'm really passionate about the products that I'm making, and like I've set up a manufacturing plant now. And so to do plant-based in this lane, and in this lane to be doing real estate leadership, I'm going, there's just no crossover. So I feel like I'm Jekyll and Hyde living in two different lives. And I'm going, but I committed to this over here, but this is where my passion is lying. So I've really been wrestling like with this big time I think for 6 months, but it's come to a head the past week. And like just random thoughts, like the people that I promised I'd work with them and do the real estate program to, they're not coming to my funeral. They like me well enough, but they really don't care about me. If I disappeared out of their life would be just fine. So for me to compromise my life and do things that I'm not passionate about because I made a promise doesn't make sense. But so what I've transitioned to is a decommitment, is what I'm calling it. And what has occurred to me is the things that I would be doing in the real estate leadership program are exactly the same things I could do in a plant-based entrepreneur leadership program. Because leadership, management, selection, communication, team building, all those things are the same, across industry, across not-for-profits. It's the psychology, it's the sociology of people working and being together. So what's occurred to me is I could almost do both simultaneously, and they would probably learn from each other. But at least if I start to work with leaders in the plant-based industry, there's some crossover instead of running these two separate lanes that is just absolutely making me crazy. Surprisingly, running two separate lanes is making me crazy.
Yeah. I got slightly lost in my head for a minute there, thinking there are people I have to introduce you to after. I don't want to do it on this call because they're local businesses, people. If someone was listening in Florida, they're not going to give a fuck.
They might, because I can work with them via Zoom.
No, but I mean like the people who I want to introduce.
Oh yeah,
the
people aren't going to matter. No, you're right. But
I'll do that for you later. Yeah, like I think that's interesting. Like, oh, my brain farting. The commitment, well, like I think one of the things about a commitment, especially with people, is it's a two-way commitment a lot of the time. You can't commit to someone who won't commit to you. Correct. So like these people who are looking for real estate consulting help, did they give you a deposit? Did they invest in you?
Not yet. But then I haven't pushed them because I think I've been feeling this apprehension, and I've been the one sitting on the fence. Like I'll bear the brunt of that responsibility. But I think, again, because my indecision was really fear of going down the wrong path, and I was hiding it. I was hiding my fear of this on indecision. Well, I just don't know if it's what I want to do, and all that I knew. Like there's a coaching question, and you say, ask a person, so why did you do blah blah blah? And the typical answer is, well, I don't know. And then, do you know what the comeback answer is? And if you did know, what would the answer be? Like you peel a layer of the onion back and they go, well, yeah, I know, but I'm going to stall you like you can go down like 8 or 10 layers sometimes because people will stall. They get very creative about their stalling. But the truth is we know, our bodies know, our souls know, we know what it feels like to wake up in the morning when we've made a bad decision.
Yeah.
Or wake up in the middle of the night when we've made a bad decision. We know the energy we get up with when we've made a good decision and we're on purpose and we're on task and we're just like all our DNA, all our cells just line up and we're going where we need to be going. Our body knows, but our mind talks it down and we just say, stuff it. In my case, I made a commitment. I'm going to damn well stick to my commitment to the death of me. I've stuck to commitments to near the death of me. And that was, like I've been there. So I'm and one of my lines in my head is, because I've seen death, I choose life. And I'm not frigging going back to death, which means not being aligned with my DNA and my cells and my passion.
Well, that ties to another tattoo I have about this character from a book called Still Life with Woodpecker. Because I got this woodpecker carrying a stick of dynamite. The protagonist is named Bernard Mickey Wrangle, and he's an outlaw. And he's got this beautiful philosophy. Like I really want to commit some of it to memory, but I haven't yet. It's like difference between criminals and outlaws is that while criminals can be victimized, outlaws never are, or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, but like outlaws are almost heroes in a way, aren't they? Because they're outliers as much as they are outlaws. Would that be
fair? And they're in tune with their own moral compass. They're in tune with what is deep and meaningful to them. And like one of the things about his character is he blows things up with dynamite. He's a bit of a terrorist. And like, I'm not condoning terrorism. It's not good. But in this story, in this fictional world, there's like this philosophical symbolism behind the dynamite. This like, there's a creative energy in a destructive force.
I get to start all over again.
Right? Yeah, and sometimes you need to just destroy things. So like what I'm hearing is that you're about ready to light the fuse on a dynamite you've long since planted in your real estate consulting course idea.
Yeah. And, and then I meet somebody and I think, oh, this would be kind of cool. This would be fun. But I'm thinking it can be the same track. It's the same stuff, different pile. So I don't know that I need to, like, this is this week's conclusion. Maybe I can do both. And I'm thinking, you're already doing too much. You don't need to do both. So tune in next week and see what I think about next week. But it's been the decommitting part that's been the biggest struggle for me.
What is the hard part about decommitting?
I think
What are you
it's about
afraid of?
potentially letting somebody else down. Like I can let myself down all day long. I can't let anybody else down. I would die for people. I will walk across hot coals for people. Not so sure I obviously do it for myself.
Yeah.
Which is kind of stupid too.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting that you'll do this for people. I just read the book, The Five Love Languages.
Okay.
And that strikes me as act of service, which I think is also my love language.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
You were almost late for this because you went to get a juice for your sweetheart, right?
Yeah.
Act of love.
Yeah. And that's how I show love, is like to do nice things for people. That's what I see for you.
Yeah.
So what I'm interested in for helping you process this is like, okay, you haven't committed to do something nice for these people. You made this commitment, although it's not so clear that they're committed to you yet. But is there an energy behind doing an act of service for this other community that more aligns with your values?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Yeah. Because it fits in much with my bigger goal, my way bigger goal of building community.
Yeah. So by doing an act of service for this one avenue that doesn't really light your fire, that doesn't feel like it will nourish you in return, you are taking away acts of service in potential from this other community, this other opportunity.
Yeah. And I've been thinking that too, because like the one thing I learned in economics was opportunity cost. While I'm doing this one thing that I may not be passionate about, I'm not doing the thing that I'm passionate about. And the clock is ticking. Like I've even decided, because I'm so old now, I don't have lunch with people that piss me off. I have lunch and I meet with people that I enjoy or I have potential to enjoy. But if I get a vibe that it's just not going to be good and it's a one-way street and they're just going to try to suck me dry, I'm not going there anymore. I only have so many hours of living to do, and I'm not wasting them with those kinds of people. Sounds a bit harsh, but because I have seen death, I want to choose life.
Yeah, I think that's something that anyone of any age could learn to deal with. I think I'm not going to grapple with that on the record with you, but that's something that Kitty and I have been navigating this week too. Maybe we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's that opportunity cost. Like you said, you are really uniquely qualified to help a lot of people. You have incredible leadership skills you develop. Plus, you're a major in home ec, for whatever that's worth. Maybe that matters, because like this is.
And I found a French chef to help me now.
Yeah, and this is like future home ec, right? Like the whole world. I mean, not the whole world, not every person in the world, but there is this like contagious viral idea and belief that plant-based foods are of deep importance if we're going to nurture our relationship with the planet.
Yeah.
And you have leadership skills that could help the people who have that passion expand their enterprises and support the planet. You know, like there's some arguments for or against whatever, but I think we can all agree that it's probably more sustainable to eat plant-based and fermented foods primarily than I saw a little YouTube video about crocodile farms where they feed them pork. And so like you're feeding, like people eat crocodiles, we make crocodile leather. So to do that, you grow food that you feed to a pig, that you grow the pig to feed to the crocodiles, and then you got crocodile meat. It's like that is so much material transport, so much gasoline, so much
So much
gas.
effort.
Yeah. Whereas like you just grow beans and you feed them to people. Like obviously we need to get creative because not everyone can digest them as well the way they are. But like you get into things like tempeh, miso, there are a lot of creative ways to start using vegetables that are.
And again, even for plant-based, if people who are not plant-based, if they were plant-based a meal a week, a day a week, 2 meals a week, I don't know, I don't care, because people have to make their own decisions. But it's about an awareness, and even that can start to shift the world.
Yeah.
And like, for example, I had some a friend over yesterday, and then I had my little garage guy who's fixing his camper up for lunch. And I served them the plant-based tacos and the plant-based burger. And they're going like, oh my God, like, I can't believe it tastes this good. Like doesn't taste like meat because I don't want it to, but ingredients you can trust, the label you can read. The most complicated thing is salt. So but yeah, I think I'm getting off track here because I start talking about that stuff and I can't quit.
Well, I think that's a good sign that like you're in a position to do good with your personal product, but also like even in just this valley, even just locally, but obviously like internationally because of the internet is within the scope. But like at our farmers market, we got a guy making tempeh, we got like people making jam, people making soups, people making all kinds of things. And some of those
fresh vegetables. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of those people, they know how to make their product bang on. They're perfect at making their product. Do they know how to scale their business, how to manage a team, how to hire staff? A lot of them probably don't. A lot of them, that's probably a really big hiccup or insecurity, like, oh, I got to take out a loan. I got to rent a larger facility. I got to pay EI for someone. Like these are hurdles that people don't know how to navigate. Not that those are specific ones, but like you could help people find the confidence to see that it's worth navigating those hurdles.
Okay, so back to the original part of this conversation. They may be facing indecision about what to do with their business, but it's really a big fear of all those things that you just listed is it isn't indecision. They know they probably know how big they want to go, what they want to do, but they're fearful of all those unknown steps. And for me, it's sort of like feel the fear and do it anyway. And maybe, I don't know if this is an ADHD thought or not, but one of the thoughts when I'm making a new decision is I think, well, how bad can this be? Like, how bad really could it get? And then like a little while down the road, I go, oh, that's how bad it could get. But not always, because usually, there's another path, something else emerges. But that is one of my thoughts. How bad could it get?
Yeah, that's why I use the fake middle name Danger. I made a little video about that.
Okay.
It's just sort of like to remind me that like our brains evolved to save us from danger. Thanks. Like fear is a really important part of survival. It certainly has been for millions of years. But historically, that fear was saber-toothed tigers, chasing buffaloes off cliff, your neighbor coming at you with a sharp stick, is starving.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of like really big things to be afraid of. Now we still have those same mechanisms in our brain, but the fear is, oh, what if they don't like what I'm wearing?
Or what if I don't get enough likes on Facebook or whatever?
Yeah,
like
what
that
what
dopamine rush.
Yeah, what if I'm invisible on the internet? What if more people downvote this than upvote this on the internet? Like, what if I get a nasty comment? It's like, you know what? It's not going to rip your head off. They're not saber-toothed tigers prowling in the bushes. They're not bears ready to eat your guts while you're screaming alive. It's not actually dangerous. A lot of the things we're scared of are not dangerous, and we just need to do them.
So it's about a reframe then, which is sort of what I'm talking about, reframing indecision as fear. So you can discover what the fear is and then act on it.
Yeah. And I think fear is still an important indicator because like, if it wasn't important for you to scale your business, like if you're like, I don't need employees.
Yeah.
Well, then you wouldn't need employees. You wouldn't even think about it. You'd just be like, I'm happy the way this is going. But if there's like a part of you that's like humming and hawing, like, what if I expanded? I don't know if I could. I don't know if I'm ready. Well, like the fact that you're like investing this mental energy in it means that obviously part of you thinks that that would be worth doing. It's like, is like if there's this honeycomb up on a cliff with all this sweet, gooey honey goodness, and you're not hungry, you might just walk by that honeycomb. You don't give a crap. But if you want that sweet prize, there's going to be a period where most people will be like, what if I get stung? What if I fall? How can I do this safely? Can I throw a rock at it? Can I bring it down to me, or do I have to go up to it? Or some people, or the people who have done that and thought about it long enough, are just going to climb up the cliff. They're going to get it.
Yeah.
And you got to face the danger. And it's not like these aren't dangerous. There are risks. There's risks to scaling. Like bankruptcy could happen to people. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
well, like, see, when I used to do a lot of business mentoring and coaching, one of the things I talk to people about is say, like, look at the crux of your business. This is it. And you need to go out and explore. What if I got an employee? Just walk out there mentally, talk about it, feel it, see what it feels like, and come back home. What would it mean if I opened up a facility, a storefront? Walk out there and feel it. The people that were successful, I could successfully mentor, were people that would walk out, sort of experience it, think it through, and come back and rethink it and either do it or not do it. The people that failed in business were the people that stayed in their bubble, that this was my business and this is all I can do. And they would not even in their imagination venture forth from that. I couldn't work with them. They couldn't succeed. They just stayed in their bubble. And from my perspective, although I have fairly big risk tolerance, there weren't big risks that we were wanting them to take. But as long as they stayed in that bubble and they could not mentally go out and face that fear, they couldn't succeed.
Yeah.
You almost need a psychologist when you start business. Like you need to pay for those.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one with the ADHD. And it's something I've been observing a lot and trying to digest. It's like one of the most challenging symptoms for a lot of people is what's called rejection sensitive dysphoria.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I want to talk about that for a whole half hour sometime.
Okay, yeah, like a lot of people at first don't even know what that is. Yeah. And then eventually somehow you've come out of focus. I don't know.
Oh, did I?
Wave your hand in front of your camera.
I waved my hand. Okay, I'll do this again and I will become back in focus. Am I in focus now?
No.
No. Okay, I'll do it right. I'll slow down.
That worked. Yeah.
I learned that last week.
Okay. Cool trick. Yeah, the rejection sensitivity, like people don't even realize how it impacts them. Because like you said, like some people are afraid of even imaginary rejections. And like that happens to us. That happens to everyone. In fact, most of the rejections are imaginary. And so it's not so much that like, oh, I went out to try to make a sales pitch to somebody and they rejected me and I hurt so bad. Like that could happen. That could happen. But also it could be, I imagined going out to make a sales call and I imagined them rejecting me, laughing at me, being mean to me, and I decided to stay home. And that might even all happen like pre-consciously. Like it's not even that like you even really imagined, because like the real fear is often what's rustling in the bushes. It's not necessarily a saber-toothed tiger. It's the potential of a saber-toothed tiger. So like you're not even aware of what you're afraid of being rejected by. Yeah. Like if you can't imagine what it looks like to grow your business, then there's so many, you can't even imagine what's rustling in the bushes. You just imagine there's a lot of bushes that things could be rustling in. And you're like, well, there's all those bushes over there. I'm not going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a technique in psychology. We should wrap this up in the next couple of minutes, but there's a technique in psychology called flick back, flick up. So you flick back to a point in time where you were successful in a similar situation, recapture the energy and the learning that you had there, and you flick it up to the present situation. Like if I did good there, I can do well here. If I can get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym every day for 3 years, I can darn well flip up and get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go and grow my business every day for 3 years. Like I
Yeah.
know I've done it. I've got that success pattern. I can use that. I can reapply that neural pathway to another situation. So the flick back, remember your success, feel it, and move it forward to put it into the new success you're aspiring to.
Yeah, that's an exercise that we sort of went over in my coaching course too. Like specifically because our memories are so bad with ADHD, is like there was an exercise that I didn't like its name, but I'm not good at coming up with names. So if anyone listening to this has a better name, I'd be open to hear it. But it's called the magnificent me moments. Sounds a little fluffy for me, but it's the same idea. It's like,
but it's big, like it gets you thinking bigger. So, because by the time you take that big magnificent me into the future, it's shrunk a bit. So you may need to start magnificent so you can end up just normal.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, you consider like when, yeah. Oh, you're out of focus again.
That's me moving my hands. That's a high I thing, an influencing thing, right?
Yeah. So you consider, I lost it. All right, the magnificent me moment. So you make a journal with entries and reflections of times you were successful, times you were in alignment with your values, your beliefs, your whatever, times you felt like things went good. And you write about that moment, you write about how you felt during that moment, and you really explore that. And then you keep that document somewhere where you'll actually find it, like label it a magnificent me moments, maybe in your Google Drive, or have a physical document, a physical journal dedicated to that. That's what that journal's purpose is. And then you open it. Like if you're feeling insecure, you're like, I have to go make a sales thing, but I'm afraid people are gonna reject me. I'm not really feeling up to it. Open that up and see like, oh, there was this time that I went and I had a good day. I actually like talked to 40 people, and they like half of them were very receptive, and I felt on fire that day. And you try to bring that past essence into the moment, just like what you were describing.
Okay, so what that's sort of a nice conclusion, Liam, in that we now go almost full circle, because with using that tool of the magnificent me moment helps to remove that fake label, that fake cloak or blanket of indecision. And then it lets you look at the fear, and you see that there is no need for fear anyway, so that we can go beyond the fear to all those excuses and discover that they're really not as valid as we'd like to think they are. So the magnificent me moment can, I may have to rewrite my article, which is due in a couple hours. The magnificent me moment can conquer the indecision and the fear and spur you into action with confidence.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay, we've been on this about 35 minutes, so we don't want people to have to listen too long.
Well, just for
As
one more,
entertaining as we are.
just to tie it back even farther to the thing that you hate so much. Don't open this can of worms. Well, that tattoo maybe is like, the idea was to like capture this essence that it's the magnificent me moment that comes with me everywhere I go, every day. I can't leave it behind. I have to remember that there was a time when I was uncertain and I decided to take action in spite of anticipated pain, in spite of fear of regret. I acted. And that
may be your memory peg.
Yeah, and that's what's important. And that's why I don't regret it, even if you think it's stupid, even if it is stupid.
It isn't to you, and the meaning is what we attach. The meaning becomes what we attach to it, and you have a very different meaning attached to it. And I now have a much better understanding of the meaning that you attach to it too. So I will look at it with more compassion and empathy, and not roll my eyes into the back of my head.
Yeah, it's my magnificent me moment. A magnificent version of me
moment. Okay.
Took a risk, and that's what I hope I will continue to do going forwards.
Okay. Well, let's continue with this risk. And next week we'll do video number 3 of mom and son with ADHD having conversation.
Yeah, and I better download the last one and this one before they disappear into the ether.
Yeah, you need to. I think they're on my computer. Again, with ADHD, I just have nowhere to find them most of the time, but I eventually do.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
talk
thanks.
to you later.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.